Today, we're going to be working through my Abraham's Trial of Faith book, which covers Genesis 11:27 through Genesis 19:29. And in this book, we're going to look real quickly we still have the chronologic, the chart from Adam to Abraham of the lifespan of the biblical patriarchs. And then we also have a map that has to do with Abram's travels in Canaan. And we'll refer back to this occasionally. So we are going to be doing now the first chapter in this book called Abram's Family Travels to Harran. This follows directly from my book about Noah and his family. So let's move in to the first chapter. Abram's family's travel to Harran, Genesis 11:27 to Genesis 11:32. So Genesis 11:27. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah, or Terah, became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran became the father of Lot. So who did this line start with? It started with Terah, the father of Abraham, who are his three sons, Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Put their names in the space to start with their initials, okay? Abraham, Nahor, and Haran, okay. Abram is not actually the oldest, as Terah has to be 130 when he is born and not 75 when Terah starts having children, shown in Genesis 11:26, okay? In the scripture, we already know that Haran has a son. What is his name? His name is Lot. Put his name in the lower box without a question mark. Who are the people that fill the boxes with the question marks? See the scriptures below, then, and fill in the blanks. Okay, so Genesis 20:1b, 2, 9, and 12. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, "What have you done to us? Have I wronged you that you brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom?" Abraham replied, "She really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife." So we know that on the second line there, the one question mark there would be Sarai, who will be Abram's wife, Sarai. And then Genesis 11:29, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Harran. So now we have Haran's daughter as also being Milcah. So we have another question mark right under the H field of Milcah. So we know he had a son named Lot, and he had a daughter named Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Ishkah. Now we have the last question mark, the one on the bottom right, from Haran, also known Ishkah. So Haran actually had three children we know of: Lot, Milcah, Ishkah. And then Sarai is actually a half-sister to Abram. The scripture continues. Genesis 11:28. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in the Ur of Chaldeans in the land of his birth. Okay, so looking at the map, we see the Ur of Chaldeans are right there near Babylonia. And this is where Terah, Abram, Haran, and Nahor are from, the Ur of Chaldeas. Who died in the Ur of Chaldeans? Haran did, Abram's brother. From the prior page, run again who his children are: Lot, Mishkah, and Ishkah. We do not know how old Haran was when he died, but it seems to be at an age younger than expected for a few reasons. First, the scripture says here that his father, who was 70 when he had his first son, is still alive. Normally, the father dies before the son. Second, two of Haran's children seem to be taken care of by the other members of the family. Lot will be watched over by Abram, and Milcah will marry Nahor, her uncle. So what do we know about the Ur of Chaldees? The website gotquestions.com tells us the Ur of Chaldees was an ancient city that flourished until about 300 BC. Great Zagharat of Ur was built by Ur-Nammu around 2100 BC and was dedicated to Nana, the moon god. The moon was worshipped as a power that controlled the heavens and the life cycle on the earth. To the Chaldeans, the phases of the moon represented the natural cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death, and also set the measurement of their yearly calendar. Actually, the Hebrew calendar is also based on the moon. When God called Abram in Genesis 12:1, he told Abram to leave his country, his kindred, and his father's house. Everything familiar was to be left behind, and that included his religion. We do not know what Abram knew about the true God at that point, but it's likely he had received some instruction from his father as each generation passed down their history to the next. As worshiper of other gods, Abram must have been surprised to receive a direct revelation from Yahweh. The scripture continues. Genesis 11:29. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. And she was the daughter of Harran, the father of both Milcah and Ishkah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. So who did Nahor marry? He married Milcah, his niece. Prior to marriage, what would have been the family relationship between Nahor and his future wife? She was his niece. Whom did Abram marry? Sarai. Prior to marriage, what would have been the family relationship between Abram and his new wife? They were half sister and half brother. What is wrong with Sarai? We already know that she is childless because she's unable to conceive. So this story has moved on quite a bit. Excuse me. So in Genesis 11:31, Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Harran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from the Ur of Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Harran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years and he died in Harran. So they must have gotten the call from God. And we actually see that in other scriptures in the Ur of Chaldees because they already know they're supposed to go to Canaan. So they travel from the Ur of Chaldees up the along the river Euphrates, and they get to the town of Harran as a stopping point. At this point, Terah dies, and everything stops right here for just a little time, rather than going straight to the land of Canaan. According to the scripture, who led the group to Harran? It was Terah who led the group to Harran, not Abram. Terah, the father of all, the grandfather of Lot, and the father of Abram and Nahor. And Sarah led the group to the town of Harran. According to the scripture shown in Acts below, did Abram get the call from God before he left Ur, or after he arrived in Harran? Acts 7:2-4. The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham when he was still in Mesopotamia, before he lived in Harran. Leave your country and your people, God said. Go to the land I will show you. So he left the land of Chaldeans and settled in Harran. So we do here now proof that Abram got the call from God. And so that's when they moved. We'll know a little more about that later, but there's actually more information we can gather. So who really led this adventure, and how do you reconcile both of these scriptures if we consider them both be true? Notice in Genesis 11:31, Terah took his son Abram, and in Acts 7:2-4, it seems to be directed at Abraham to go. So who actually led the group? I would say that Abram got the call from God, and he didn't really understand it. But Terah, the Messiah line, recognizes the call from God and pushes his son along, And eventually, through time, they've just referenced that to Abraham rather than his father, who pushed the family along. Hmm. Who all was on the trip? We have Terah, we have Abram, we have Lot, we have Sarai, and those are the ones that went: Terah, Abram, Lot, and Sarai. At least in these scriptures. Who died in Harran? That would be Terah. And the travel from Ur to Harran would have been about 600 miles. So it was quite a distance. You're figuring they brought a caravan, which more than likely they did. It still would have been maybe 20 to miles a day, whatever. And at 205 miles, that's quite a bit, at least 10 days. So now we come to the crossword. And I love these crosswords with the all these names, because I usually pick the names to fill the crosswords, and well, it's not exactly always remember. Okay, which brother of Abram died in Ur? Number 2, that would be Harran, Haran. Which daughter of Harran married Nahor? That would be Milcah, Milkah. Who is the father of Abram? That would be Terah, Terah. Abram's family traveled to Harran on their way to where? We know already, on the way to Canaan, Canaan. Then one down. Who is Abram's half-sister? Sarai, Sarai. And where did Terah die? Harran, Harran. Harran. They're spelled in 2 different ways, so I had to check and see. And then 5, what is Haran's son's name? And that's Lot. Okay, so that's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it.